This is a project called AnimalList. In this project, we're going to create an array list of strings, and we're going to call that ArrayList animals. If I go over here, I notice this is called ArrayList, and if I come in, open this guy up in Editor, I can see I have a class called AnimalList, and I have nothing inside. I'm going to put in a main method, so I'll simply say public static void main. As before, I'm going to load the list and I'm going to print the list. These are two methods that I'm going to create, but before I create that method, I want to create the array list, so I will declare that above. I'm going to create an array list up here, so my declaration will be for an array list, and the declaration will look like this. I'll make it private, static, because I'm going to be calling this and using this from a static method. In this case, I'm going to make him static. Notice I use array list of type string. So this is going to be an array list that is going to hold strings. The name of the array list is going to be called animals, and every time I create a new object in Java, I use the keyword new, and I'll say array list string, that's what the new object is, and anytime I use the new operator, I end with these parentheses. And that's going to create a space in memory where I can begin to store my array list of strings. My load list method is going to be called from the main method, and so it also needs to be static. So I have public static void load list. It's not going to return anything, and it won't receive any parameters. So the input parameters are empty. The return type is empty. Notice there's no return statement in this method. But load list is going to be a method that has all the code between these two curly braces, and I'm going to create a scanner. I'm going to create a string called again, which I'll just load with a default value of lowercase y, and that's going to be the control variable for this. Actually, I think I'll call this guy control. So let's call him control, and I'll say control equals. As long as it equals y, I'm going to go through this loop, and then I'm going to update my control variable down here when I add this next line, control. So I'm going to create a scanner, and the scanner is just scr, and it'll say system.out.print, please enter an animal, and the new or the next line character is going to add that into my array. Now this is an array list of animals, and I'm using a method called add. That will add a string element to my array list called animals. And to add that string, I'm taking it from the keyboard, so I use my scanner.nextLine method, and then I say system.println to give me a space, system.print add another. Actually, I think I can get rid of this. Let's just see what this looks like without that particular line. And now it'll say print add another animal, yes or no, and then control equals next line. So if I type in a y, this guy gets changed to y. If I type in anything other than y, it will not pass my Boolean expression test up here. This will result as false, and I'll break out of my loop. Next, I'm going to go to print list, and print list will come right down here. Again, since I'm calling print list from a static method main in this case, I need to also make this guy static as well. So now I have public static void print list, and I'll go ahead and do my auto layout so it's nice and neat. This method size is part of the array list class, and it will tell me exactly how many elements are inside of the animals list. Next, I'll print out contents of animals with a line under that, and so I'll see how big my animal list is, and then down here I have while control is less than animals.size. Now it's important that we understand why this says less than and not less than or equals to, because remember, all of the indices of an array list are going to start at 0 and end at 1 less than the actual size of the array list. So if the array list has 10 elements, we want this guy to go from 0 to 9, and so 9 is less than 10 if the size is 10. System.out.print, and now I say control plus 1. So control starts at 0, so 0 plus 1 is 1, and then animals.get. Now I'm using the get method in the array list class, and I will take the first element is 0, the second element is 1, and every time I come through here, I increase control by 1, so control is equal to control plus 1, or simply in shorthand, control plus plus, and then I come back up in the loop and repeat the whole process. Let's see if this compiles. I don't know what an array list is, and so to do that, I need to import the array list. Again, this is a class that Java knows about as long as I tell it where to find it. So it also happens to be in the util folder, and I can say scanner to import my scanner, and I can do the same thing for my array list. I just take this import, I make another import statement. It happens to be in the same folder util, so I'll just go ahead and say array list here. So scanner, let's try it one more time, and there we go. Let's run this and see what happens. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and run this. So I come over here, right click, and I say void main. Run the program, and it says please enter an animal. Let's try pig, and I'm going to say yes, and I'll try dog. Keep this really simple. Yes, and let's say cat. Yes, and let's say llama, and yes, and now I'll say one last one. How about duck? And then finally I'll say no. And notice that I have my animal size is 5. I entered 5 animals. I have pig, dog, cat, llama, and duck, and the animal size is 5. That's the length of my array. And even though this has 1, 2, 3, 4, remember that the first element in the array list is actually the index is 0, and the index for dog is 1, and so forth. But this is the first element, second element, third element, fourth, and fifth. And that's it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and run this. So I come over here, right click, and I say void main. Run the program, and it says please enter an animal. Let's try pig, and I'm going to say yes, and I'll try dog. Keep this really simple. Yes, and let's say cat. Yes, and let's say llama, and yes, and now I'll say one last one. How about duck? And then finally I'll say no. And notice that I have my animal size is 5. I entered 5 animals. I have pig, dog, cat, llama, and duck, and the animal size is 5. That's the length of my array. And even though this has 1, 2, 3, 4, remember that the first element in the array list is actually the index is 0, and the index for dog is 1, and so forth. But this is the first element, second element, third element, fourth, and fifth. And that's it.